So you're playing the role-playing game of life, and the class you chose is Artist. Are we having a little bit of trouble with the game? We're here to help. Hello, Abnormals, and welcome back to the Ministry of Abnormality. I am your host, O Abnormal, and today we're going to be talking about how to get through an art funk, or an art wall, or an art rut, or how to overcome the plateau, or whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it art funk from here on. Well, actually, no, I'm not. Because for this video, I'm going to compare being an artist to playing a video game. More specifically, to playing a role-playing game. And how comparing this to a role-playing game, we can get through our art funk. So first of all, let's talk about what is an artist funk. An artist funk is when you, as an artist, feel like you're not getting any better with your skill, skill-wise, you feel like you're stuck. Sometimes you feel like you're not only not getting any better, but you're actually getting worse. You used to be able to do some of these things with great ease, and now suddenly it's like you've never done them before. You've done this for a very long time, but now you feel like you're new, suddenly you've hit a wall, and you just don't know what it is that isn't working. You feel like your art sucks. You feel like not only you're not good, but who knows, maybe you were never good to begin with, and you're stuck. This happens to all artists. You're not alone. Every single artist, from the most experienced, from the best artist there is, to the amateur that just started drawing today, go through art funks. And I'm just talking about one. No. This is something you go through in your career repeatedly. It happens over and over and over again. And who knows, maybe there's a way to avoid it. Maybe there's a way for this not to happen. But I don't know about it. So as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, art funk is unavoidable. It will happen to us all, and it will happen over and over and over again. The best you can hope for is that you don't get it too often, or at least not too close together. Whatever. In any case, it happens to us all. But thinking about it, it's very similar to me to playing a role-playing game. I love role-playing games. They're some of my favorite games to play, both tabletop and video game. I've played a lot in my life. I would not consider myself by any measure to be the person that has played the most. I've known people that have pretty much played everything under the sun. Not me. I've played enough. But there's a lesson to be found in role-playing games that I feel is applicable to art. So imagine, if you will, your favorite role-playing game. Now, if you don't play role-playing games, this can also be applicable to many other forms of games. And I personally think this is not just applicable to art, but then again, I'm just an artist. So, imagine that you're playing a video game, a role-playing game, or maybe even a tabletop game, but let's go with video game for now. Imagine that you're playing a role-playing game, a video game, and you get stuck. You feel like all the enemies are kicking your ass, or maybe there's a boss that you can't push through. Maybe you're at a point of a game that you just don't know where to go. You feel like your character's no good. You feel like you've been playing the game all wrong. This happens to a lot of people at the beginning of a game. And a lot of people just quit the game because of that. Imagine, that happens to artists too. A lot of people just start their, process of being an artist. And they come across these walls, these obstacles, and they just quit right away. But not you. You've stuck with it. You've played. You've played through it, and now you're stuck. What can you do? How can you get through a game? The first thing we're going to want to check is if we know what's wrong. No, this isn't always the case. Sometimes you're stuck and you just don't know what the hell is going on. Sometimes you know. Sometimes you know what it is you're having trouble with. Maybe it's a specific boss that you haven't been able to beat. A specific type of enemy that's always kicking your ass. A specific jump you can't make. Whatever like that. In art, it can happen the same way. Maybe you're having trouble with a specific aspect of your art. Maybe you're just no good at anatomy, or perspective kicks your ass. Faces are troublesome for you. You can't draw women for shit. You have to draw a car, and it's like what is drawing? Sometimes we know what's wrong. When we know what's wrong, the solution is pretty obvious, but you'd be surprised how many times, even though the solution is obvious, we just don't do it. A lot of times, even though we know what we're missing, we don't just go get it. We come across this boss and they say, okay, for this boss, you need to use the shield. But god damn it, I'm not going to use the shield. I'm going to go at this boss just flailing my sword around. Can you flail a sword? I don't know. I'm just going to wave my sword around at this boss and hope to kill it. And it kills me. I know I have to use the shield, but I'm going to use my sword again. It kills me. In art, the same thing happens to us. A lot of times we know what we're missing. God damn it, I know I'm supposed to practice facial construction. I know that I'm supposed to go back, study facial construction, practice it for a while, get better at it, and then go back. Why don't I do it then? That happens to a lot of us. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Do you know what's wrong? And if you do, just admit it and go fix it. Now that's the easy option. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't know what's wrong. A lot of times we just feel like we're not advancing. We feel like we're not getting any better. So what can we do then? First of all, don't stress. I know saying don't stress is probably the best way to get somebody to stress. But what I mean is, again, this happens to everybody. Relax, calm down, take a deep breath. We're gonna figure this out. This game was designed for you to actually be able to play it. So don't worry about it. We're gonna figure it out. Okay. Maybe you're not leveled up enough. You know, you're facing this boss, these enemies, this level, whatever, and maybe it was designed for somebody of a higher level than you are. Maybe you need to go level up a bit. Now, how do we level up in the art world? Well, you can study. You can take a course. You can take a class. What about if there's no courses or classes where you are? Well, you can look up some stuff online. There's plenty of courses online that you can take. Well, they cost money. What if you don't have money for that? Well, then you can take some tutorials on YouTube. Most of them are free. Actually, if it's on YouTube, it's free. But yeah, you can take courses, you can take tutorials, you can enroll in courses, you can do all those things. You can check out some books. Level up. The thing is, when you level up, you don't just level up what you studied. Everything else levels up with you. It's all a unit. Like in the game, when you advance a level as, as a rogue or a wizard or whatever it is you are, you still gain HP and you still gain many other stats. You know, your attributes all increase. Of course, when you level up, you mostly level up what you focused on, but everything levels up along with it, to a greater or lesser degree. When, as an artist, you take a course, or you take a tutorial, or you just learn something new, believe me, all your other artistic skills are going to be pushed forward along with it. So, level up. Go study something. Now, this can also involve grinding. And a lot of people don't like grinding, but hey, if you're into role-playing games, well, most of the time, you gotta learn to love grinding. Grinding doesn't always have to be bad. And as an artist, that's what you gotta do. You gotta go do the grind. Leveling up involves taking a course, studying, and all that kind of stuff, but it also involves grinding. Now, ideally, you don't want to do one without the other. Only grinding is going to level you up slowly. And, well, in this analogy, when I talk about grinding, I mean practicing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. Well, that's the grind. Now, if you just grind, you're going to level up very slowly. You need focus. You need something to focus your grinding efforts. But you do need to grind. So, go take a course, go do a tutorial, but also understand that you're gonna have to grind. Learn to love it. I once heard an artist that I admire a lot, called Bobby Chu, say that when there's something in art that you're having difficulty with, that's your new favorite thing. That makes a lot of sense to me. If you have trouble drawing hands, guess what? Now you have to love drawing hands. You have to draw hands all day, every day, until you get good at it. If in a video game, the problem is that you haven't leveled up intelligence, well, you gotta go put some points into intelligence. When your character's weakness is a certain attribute, like in this example, intelligence, you don't improve that just by avoiding it. And it doesn't work in art that way either. If your weakness is, again, drawing hands, how do you think you're going to fix that by never drawing hands? By avoiding them at all costs? That's not how you're going to get better at that. You have to draw them, and you have to draw them a lot. So, level up, grind, and don't avoid the thing that you're having trouble with. But okay, so leveling up, grinding, not avoiding what you're having trouble with. What next? What else can I do? Well, maybe you can change your playstyle. Maybe you're playing too defensively, or maybe you're playing too offensively. Did I even say that right? Well, whatever. Maybe you need to change your playstyle. A lot of times, we come from other games to a game that has a specific playstyle. You know, you've been playing Dark Souls 1 and 2, and you've basically been playing it like a turtle. You carry a big-ass shield and a ton of armor, and you just clump your way through the entire game, absorbing damage. And then you decide that you want to play Bloodborne. Well, Bloodborne don't play like that. Bloodborne is a bit faster, and you don't get a shield. You gotta move, you gotta attack, you gotta play offensively. You can't play Bloodborne the same way you play Dark Souls 1 and 2. They are similar. But if you tanked Dark Souls 1 and 2, well, you're gonna hit a wall with Bloodborne, and eventually you're just gonna have to accept that you need to change your playstyle. In art, that can happen too. Maybe your playstyle is all wrong. Maybe you need to change it up a little bit. You've always been drawing the same thing. How about you draw something else? Maybe you're one of those artists that is always in a hurry. Maybe you need to calm down a little bit. Slow down. If you've always drawn images that you finish that same day, how about this time you try taking a couple of days on an image? On the other hand, if you've always been an artist that takes forever producing art, how about you do some speed challenges and see how well you do when you work in a hurry? Maybe you're the type of artist that always has to be super polished and everything has to be perfect. How about you mess it up a little bit? Go a little bit sketchy. See what happens like that. Let's make some sketches. On the other hand, maybe you always do sketches. Well then, let's try out finishing some work. Maybe you're always sci-fi. Let's do some fantasy. Maybe you're always sci-fi and fantasy, like me. Let's try some, I don't know, casual, mundane, real-life images. Mix it up a little bit. Change your playstyle. Understand that one playstyle is not going to cover all your needs. And you need to be, you need a little bit of versatility. You need to be able to adapt to different situations. So change your playstyle a bit. So there we go. We got leveling up, we got grinding, we got not ignoring things that you are having trouble with, and we got changing your playstyle a little bit. What else can we do? Well, how about a guide? You can find a guide. Now, a guide can come in many shapes or forms. You can look at a Let's Play on YouTube. You can look up some tips and tricks from different websites. Oh, that would help. If I had never looked up what the Master Key does in Dark Souls, I would have had some trouble reaching certain parts of the game and everything at first. A guide was helpful. Maybe a guide is a friend that has played the video game before and can give you a little bit of hints. You don't want them to spoil the game for you. You don't want them to play the game for you. But sometimes a little bit of a hint can help. In art, we also need guides. Maybe what you want is, it's a good idea to have a fellow artist that you look up to. It's a great idea to have kind of like a mentor figure. Is it mentor or mentor? I'm going to go with mentor because it sounds more badass. But maybe you need a mentor figure. A mentor. Maybe you have a teacher that you look up to and they can give you some advice. Maybe you're lucky enough that you have artists in your life that can actually point you in the right direction. And that applies to everything else that we got, even from the beginning, when we spoke about, what happens if you already know what's wrong. A lot of times, a little bit of honesty is going to help a lot. It helped me a lot when I asked, hey, what do you think is wrong with my art? And most people would just answer, no, it's great, no, it's perfect, no, it's great. But then, finally, I came across somebody that said, you know what, it's the eyes. You suck at drawing eyes. And it hurt, of course, we all have egos. But then I thought about it, yeah, you know what? It's true. I suck at drawing eyes. I need to practice eyes more. And I'm not talking about years ago. I'm talking about, last week. So there you go. A lot of times you need a guide. And a lot of times you need somebody to tell you what it is you're doing wrong. A lot of times you need a list of tips and tricks. This is the internet we're talking about. You can look up stuff like most common mistakes when drawing anatomy, most common mistakes when doing perspective, things you're doing wrong about coloring. You can look all these things up. Get a guide. Okay, what else can we do? Well, maybe you need to change gear. You're playing a video game. You're coming against armored enemies. They're heavy with armor. And you're going in with a sword, a katana. Well, I'm sorry, katanas are not very good against heavy armor. Now, please, let's not get into a discussion about if in real life, blah, 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 blah. Thing is, in Dark Souls, for example, no. A katana is not good against heavy armor. For that, you need a blunt weapon, a mace, something like that. If you go around the game attacking everybody with the same gear, you're going to have a hard time about it. It's a good idea to have several upgraded weapons in your arsenal. Are you playing as an artist with just one weapon? That's not going to work. Now, what do I mean when I say weapons and gear here? Now, I'm not necessarily talking about your pencils or your paper or your tablet. Although, I'm also not talking about them. Yeah, sometimes you're stuck on your tablet. Maybe you need to go draw on paper for a little bit, see what happens then. Maybe you have a tablet that you never use, you're stuck on paper. Maybe you need to go experiment with that tablet a little bit. Maybe you always draw with markers. Hey, how about try some watercolors? See what happens. But on the other hand, it's not just about the physical gear that you got. It's also about the skills you have as an artist. Maybe you need to add a little bit more stuff into your arsenal. Do you always draw characters? How about some scenery? Let's try some scenery. Add something new to the gear that you have to attack these monsters. Maybe you're no good at perspective. Maybe you've never really done perspective. You've never tried it before. Hey, how about we add perspective to your gear? So yeah, maybe you need to get some new gear. Oh, I normally don't do monsters. There you go. I normally don't do vehicles. There you go. Try that. And there's something else that happens with gear that's a little bit more difficult to deal with. And it's that sometimes we're carrying gear we don't need anymore, and it's holding us back. Yeah. Maybe... I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one. But maybe your preferred style is holding you back. That happens a lot. I'm gonna give the most common example, but again, I don't want anybody to think that I hate anime. I love anime. I've watched anime. I don't watch any right now, but that's more because of time than anything else. And as a teacher, whenever a student comes up to me working with anime and manga, I don't reject them outright. But I have seen it a lot. That artists get stuck on an obsession with anime and manga. And because they're stuck with anime and manga, their art gets stuck because they're not able to move past it. They're ready to learn new things and to advance and to go beyond. But their obsession with being stuck in this style holds them back. And don't think it's just anime and manga. It can be a lot of things. Maybe you're stuck with American comics. You've got an American 90s comic style. And you just can't get out of that. Or maybe you're stuck with a European comic style. A little bit more versatile, but still. Maybe you're stuck with cartooning. Maybe all you draw is chibis. That was funny to say. Just like changing your play style, a lot of times, if you grow too dependent on one specific tool or one specific part of your gear, it's gonna hold you back. And it's difficult to accept it. It's difficult to face the fact that maybe it's time to move past some of the things you got in your arsenal. Yeah, that starting sword in the game, there's always going to be a certain feeling of nostalgia for that sword, but you're not going to beat the bigger bosses with the sword you started out with. Maybe it's time to level up another sword. But okay, moving on. So, we got grinding, we got leveling up, we got changing your playstyle, we got using a guide, we got not ignoring the things that you, would rather ignore. We got changing our gear, discarding old gear that's holding us back, getting new gear, and improving the gear we got. What else? What else can get us through an art funk? Perhaps it's time we go back and we revisit some of the first levels. Try some of those challenges again. Maybe the game lets you attack some of those bosses that you did at first again. Or some of the enemies that were tough at the lower levels. Maybe you can go beat them again now that you're of a higher level. Revisit old levels. And with art, it's the same thing. A lot of times, when we've gotten a little bit of experience, we tend to forget the basics. Those things that we learned at first. Value, composition, the basics of human anatomy, focal points, all those things. We tend to forget about them a little bit when we get a little bit of experience. We just kind of jump over them because, yeah, they become very automated in our heads and we feel like we don't need to pay that much attention to them anymore. But we do. We do. We definitely do. And revisiting earlier levels, revisiting those first lessons, those basic things, those first exercises are really good for getting out of an artistic funk. Now, it's not always easy because, some of those basic exercises might not be that entertaining to a lot of people. Personally, I love them. But, yeah, maybe they're boring to you. But think about it a little bit. It always feels good to go to an earlier level and just steamroll the fuck out of that. Now, sometimes we go back to an earlier level and we get our ass kicked back there also. And we discover, oh, okay, I guess maybe I have to rethink some things and maybe get back to basics. But a lot of times it just reminds us of the basics. And it's always good to remember the basics. So revisit those first art exercises that you did. Revisit those first lessons. A very useful thing to do there is teach. Now, I don't mean you have to become a teacher. I don't mean you have to go to a school or a university and get paid to give a class. But sharing your knowledge really helps you always remember the basics. I've been teaching illustration for 12 years. Well, again, not exactly 12 years. I've been teaching, 10. I've been teaching illustration for 10 years. And every single semester, that means at least twice a year, I have to go back to teach value, composition, focal points, all those things. And being absolutely honest, every single time I do it, every single semester, I realize yet another thing that I seem to have forgotten. Now, it's not like I didn't know this thing before, but I teach it to my students and I find myself thinking, man, I'm not really applying that lately. Maybe I need to, go back to basics. Okay, so we got all that. Now what? Well, how about some side quests? All role-playing games have side quests. A bunch of stuff to do that isn't necessarily the main mission, but it's going to help you. It's going to help you get through the game. Life as an artist has side quests. A bunch of stuff that isn't necessarily art, but it's all connected and it all helps. Are you drawing 24/7? Are you drawing every day? No, don't do that. Give yourself a day off. Do other things in that day off. It's a topic for another video at another time, but having hobbies and having stuff that you do that has nothing to do with art helps improve your visual language. It's going to give your mind stuff to draw about. You can't draw about drawing unless you draw a person that's drawing, which is something I did a week ago. But no. You need other things. Everybody knows that exercising helps our state of mind. Maybe you need to get some exercise. Maybe you need to go out for a walk. Maybe you need to get hobbies that don't have anything to do with drawing or art in general. Now, believe me, art is my main thing. Art comes before everything for me. But I have other stuff that I like to do. I like to go... Well, okay, I'm not going to say I like to go to the gym, but I go. Or at least I try to go. I like playing some video games. I like going to the movies. I like going out for dinner. I like going out and riding my motorcycle. These are not art. They're side quests. there are other interests and hobbies and other things that I do that help me, because it's not just about the art, it's about me, and I need other things. So look at yourself and ask yourself, not just from my art, but from my life in general, what's missing? And be honest about it. Are you like eating trash all day, every day? Well, that's no good. Have you not exercised lately or ever? That's no good either. Do you just spend all day inside your house, not doing anything other than drawing? No. You gotta get out there. You gotta see things. You gotta experience other things, because that's gonna feed into your art. Now, of course, I'm not, I realize that some people can't get out of their houses. I realize that there are limitations and all those kind of things. But let's face it, the majority of people, you gotta get out and do other things. Now, of course, art is the main thing. Let's not lose focus. But don't forget that it can't all be art. We need some side missions. We need to spice it up a little bit. And finally, and this connects to the side missions, maybe you need to take a break. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not one of those people that can just play 24 hours straight. And suddenly I'm playing a game and I forgot to sleep and it's been 3 days and I smell like crap and... No. I need to take breaks. I play a game for a few hours and I need to take a break. And with art, it's the same way. You gotta take a break. Give yourself a day of the week to go do side quests. Give yourself a day of the week to play something else. Give yourself breaks. Go get some sleep. Go have a bite to eat. Go to the bathroom. Do something else. Take a break. But don't take too long of a break. Look what happens with video games. You're playing Dark Souls. You get up to Ornstein and Smough. You decide to take a break because, yep, a lot of people hit a wall at Ornstein and Smough. You take a break and you haven't played for months. And then when you go back to the game, you forgot how to play it. You don't remember how to play it anymore. It's like you're starting from the beginning. This happens to me a lot. A lot of games that I just play them for a while, I hit a wall, I stop playing them, and when I pick them back up months later, I don't remember anything. Who the fuck is this guy? I don't remember him in the story. How is it that I attack this way or that? I don't remember. And sometimes you just have to start over. So take a break. Don't take too long of a break. So in conclusion, if playing the role-playing game of life with a class as an artist, you hit a wall, you hit a funk, or you feel like you've plateaued, grind a little bit. Level up. Take care of that aspect of the game that you've been ignoring. Change your playstyle. Use a guide. Change your gear. Level up your gear. Get rid of gear you don't need anymore. Or get new gear. Revisit old levels. Try some of the old challenges. Get back to basics. Do some side quests. And take a break. Trust me. Art funk happens to all of us. No artist is free from it. And even when you get past the one you're in, it's going to happen again. But I'm sure that you're going to push through it. Because above all else, you got to keep playing. You got to keep playing. This has been the Ministry of Abnormality, and I am your host, O Abnormal. I hope this video helps some of you get through your art funk, and I definitely hope it helps me get through mine. But do you have any techniques to get through art funk? What do you do, or how else do you think we can apply getting through an art funk to a video game? send me a message or leave it in the comments. As always, as it goes here on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. And above all else, if you have any ideas for future videos, please let me know. Until next week, thank you so much for listening. Stay naughty, and goodbye.